Hello friends, good morning. I am Nikhil Kumar. I am professor in the Department of English of Veer Kunwar Singh University Ara in the province of Bihar in India. Today I wish to take up W.B. Yeats's renowned poem Sailing to Byzantium and Sri Aurobindo's vision of English poetry to those higher planes of spiritual consciousness from where the mantra has been written. Sri Aurobindo, whom we have discovered to be an evolutionary breakthrough in the evolution of yogic consciousness, has discovered that the English poetry is evolving to those higher planes of spiritual consciousness within the domain of mind, where from the Vedic rishis have written the mantra. He has discovered the existence of the world of spiritual mind, which exists above the plane of the intellectual mind. Within the domain of the spiritual mind, there is the realization of the existence of one divine. He has further discovered the four planes of spiritual consciousness within the domain of mind. He has termed them, the first one as the higher mind, then the illumined mind, then the intuitive mind, and then the overmind consciousness. And beyond this, the domain of mind ends, and there exists the domain of transcendent consciousness. It is the transcendent divine consciousness which Sri Aurobindo has called the supramental consciousness. Sri Aurobindo has stated that the poetry which is written from some higher plane of the intuitive mind consciousness and the overmind consciousness is mantra. These planes are very much vibrant with the transcendent divine consciousness. Sri Aurobindo's yogic consciousness has found that the English poetic consciousness in the person of W.B. Yeats is destined to evolve to those planes of mantric consciousness of which we have just discussed here. The two important poems of W.B. Yeats, such as Sailing to Byzantium and The Second Coming, are the clear manifestations of a very high plane of mystic and spiritual consciousness within the mind of W.B. Yeats. Here we shall take up the sailing to Byzantium. And in fact, it is the last stanza of the sailing to Byzantium which manifests a very high plane of spiritual consciousness within the person of W.B. Yeats. I would like to recite the lines of this last stanza, which is the fourth stanza, and we shall penetrate into this and find the manifestation of such a high plane of mystic and spiritual consciousness in the poet. It is, once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing. But such a form as Grecian goldsmith make of hammered gold and gold enameling to keep a drowsy emperor awake, or set upon a golden bow to sing to lords and ladies of Byzantium of what is past or passing or to come. So in fact, the two opening lines of this very stanza are the specific one wherein there is a categorical manifestation of a very high plane of mystic and spiritual consciousness in W.B. Yeats. So let us look into these lines. Once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing. We shall be able to understand these lines only when we take refuge into Sri Aurobindo's supramental discovery of the hierarchy of existence within the creation. Sri Aurobindo has discovered that just above the plane of this gross matter, there exists the plane of subtle matter. This plane of subtle matter is the origin of this world of gross matter in which we are living. Whatever the evolutionary changes are taking place here precede in the world of the subtle matter. This is what Sri Aurobindo states very clearly in his epic Savitri in a canto named The Kingdom of Subtle Matter. So, all the things precede, all the future events precede on the plane of subtle matter prior to the materialization of all these things into the world of this gross matter. Sri Aurobindo further reveals that above the plane of that very subtle matter, there exists the plane of the higher life. That higher life is quite different from the life which we have on this earth. Then Above that, there exists the plane of higher mind. In fact, all these planes are the subtle counterparts of the life and mind of this gross world of matter, or the world of gross matter. Sri Aurobindo has discovered that in the constitution of the being of man, there are three parts which constitute the being of man: matter, life, and mind. These are the three essential constituent parts of the being of man. And there exists the divine self at the center. But we are aware only of this gross matter or gross body of ourselves. We are aware of the gross life in our being. We are aware of the gross mind in our being. But all these three gross selves have their subtle counterparts. That is to say, there exists a subtle body, there exists a subtle life, there exists a subtle mind. So this is what Sri Aurobindo calls the inner being or subtle being. And this subtle being or these three subtle selves exist at the base of the gross self of man. That is to say, at the base of gross body, gross life, and gross mind. So, and this very subtle body is made up of the substance of the kingdom of subtle matter which exists universally, vertically. Similarly, the subtle life is made up of the world of higher life which exists above the plane of subtle matter. And in the same manner, the subtle mind is the individual counterpart or is made up of the substance of the higher mind which exists above the plane of higher life. In fact, the universal planes of the subtle matter, the subtle life, and subtle mind have individualized themselves in the individual constitution of the being of man. So in the very canto, Kingdom of the Subtle Matter of the epic Savitri, Sri Aurobindo says very categorically that subtle body is made up or is a tissue. He calls it a tissue, and it is made up of soul's radiant light and matter substance. It feels what the earthly mind doesn't feel. This gross body. It cancels the earth's descending pull after the death of man, death of the gross selves of man, and when the departed being begins his supraphysical journey. Sri Aurobindo says in some of his letters on the rebirth, and in this very canto also, that the soul of man comes out of this body in the event of death, using this subtle body as its vehicle. It stops first in the world of subtle matter, then it goes into the world of subtle life, and it stays there till the subtle self is dissolved there in the world of subtle life. And then this subtle life is dissolved, then departed being enters into the world of subtle mind, into the subtle mind, and it stays there, the soul stays there till the subtle mind is dissolved in the world of that very higher mind. And when it is dissolved, the soul releases the subtle body, and it goes back to its world of subtle matter, and it is dissolved there, and the soul stays in its own world, which Sri Aurobindo calls the world of or the psychic world. Sri Aurobindo calls it the world of or calls it psychic world. But when the time of rebirth comes, it once again forms its subtle mind, taking materials from the world of subtle mind. Then it forms the subtle life, then it forms the subtle body. So the same substance is used when man is born. And in these two lines of the last stanza of the Selling to Byzantium, W.B. Yeats is aware that again the same stuff will come into his being in his next birth, and the mortality from which he is suffering today will continue to exist in the next birth also. That will continue to exist in the next birth. So he says that once out of nature, I shall never take my bodily form from any natural thing. These planes of subtle matter, subtle life and subtle mind are the natural things, because it has come into the existence, or it has been brought into existence by the Almighty. So here we are in need of Sri Aurobindo's discovery of the integral yoga. In Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, there are three yogas. One is the yoga of the soul transformation of the three constituent parts of the being of man: body, life and mind. The soul transformation is in fact this, that the divine self exists within us in its two poises. One is the central being, Jivatma he calls it. The other poise is what he calls the psychic being. So when ordinarily the psychic being is behind the body, life and mind, the gross body, the gross life, the gross mind, and when it comes in the front and takes over the command of these three, the very divine consciousness, transcendent divine consciousness within the psychic being descends into the body, life and mind, and these undergo an evolutionary change and they become receptive to what comes down from the plane of the transcendent divine. This Sri Aurobindo calls the soul transformation or psychic transformation or psychicization of body, life and mind. And there is another yoga, which is the yoga of spiritualization, means man's ascent to the planes of spiritual consciousness, and the consciousnesses and powers of those planes descend into his being, and man undergoes the spiritual transformation. And the summit of the integral yoga is what Sri Aurobindo calls the supramentalization of the being of man. So supramental transformation, that is. Sri Aurobindo is the first yogi on this earth who has discovered that the transcendent supramental divine consciousness will descend into this creation up to the plane of gross matter, and that very transcendent integral divine consciousness will establish its rule, and the entire creation will undergo the supramental transformation. That is to say, the entire creation will come under the control of or under the rule of the transcendent divine consciousness. There will be a supramental transformation accordingly. So in his epic Savitri, Savitri's yoga is the yoga of supramentalization. That is to say, Savitri brings down the transcendent supramental consciousness into its creation. So as a result of which the world of higher life undergoes supramental transformation, the world of higher mind undergoes the supramental transformation, and the world of subtle mind undergoes the supramental transformation. And there is a consequent effect on the plane of gross mind, gross life, gross mind. So when these subtle worlds are transformed, then it will not at all suffer from the mortality. So it appears that somewhere in the inmost recesses of Yeatse's consciousness, he has an awareness of the need of the supramentalization of these subtle planes of existence. And he knows that unless those subtle planes are supramentalized in the rebirth, man will continue to suffer from immortality. And he will get rid of immortality only when the transcendent supramental consciousness descends and it is supramentalized. Of course, he has not spoken of such supramentalization, but this truth we find when we enter into Sri Aurobindo's integral yoga, when he reveals such truths of which we have made a discussion here. So this very vision of W.B. Yeats, that unless those subtle planes don't undergo the divine transformation, there is no use in taking birth again. So this very thing manifests a very high plane of spiritual consciousness. So Sri Aurobindo says that W.B. Yeats's poetic consciousness in itself, whether it manifests in the selling to Byzantium or in the second coming, is destined to take English poetry to the planes of mantric consciousness, to those two uppermost planes of spiritual consciousness from where all the four Vedas and the Upanishads have been written and the Gita has been written. So English poetry is destined there. So his poetic consciousness, W.B. Yeats's poetic consciousness, has made a very, very valuable contribution to the spiritual evolution of English poetry. That's all. Thank you very much.